Welcome to the Tone Jerks Podcast. I am your host, Brian Gower, and with me today is...
Kyle McIntyre, that's me.
And over the power of the internets, the future, we have... Paul?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, I guess, yeah, we usually have the guests introduce themselves.
Oh, well, it was, I thought it cut out. Sorry.
Okay.
This is going great.
It's going to be awesome, man. So this is our first time doing a online Google Hangout. So if you guys hear weird shit, that's why. So I'm gonna blame technology here. So let's just jump into it. Let's go into the what's new within everybody's weeks. Kyle, what's new?
Not really a whole lot, I guess.
You got anything
next?
That's what's new. Yeah, I don't know. I've just been working in my garage, working on stuff, and that's how it sounds every week. Actually, it sounds like.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I got nothing new really. I think, Paul, we're gonna have you bolster this one.
Yeah,
what's new in your world?
I don't know why Kyle didn't mention this, but basically I bought a rat off Craigslist in Tennessee for like $30. And the thing was spray painted like this garbage gold. Like it just is the worst paint
Don't
job
you
ever.
talk about it like that.
And Kyle was mad that I bought it. And so we traded. So he modded a DS1 for me and we both mailed them out today. Or he just made up a random numbers.
Yeah. I had to think really hard to come up with 27 digits.
Yeah, he was telling me that he's like, oh, I got this black DS1, and he modded it with a JCM mod that he did to his other pedal, which is like really, it sounds awesome. It's really cool. And then he's like, oh, cool. And he's like, oh, I'm sending it to Paul. I'm like, really? Come on, man.
I got it that day. I'm like, hey, I got this option I can trade you with. You're like, all right, that's cool. Brian's like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you're always talking about refins and stuff. And I was like, well, just paint it because I hate that orange. Like, I mean, it's fine. I'm just sick of seeing that pedal, you know? And I was like, oh, well, you got to paint it. If you paint it, I'll do the trade.
I thought about the refin on that. I'm like, damn, I got to take the thing apart. I got to take the rubber off. I got to do all this. I'm like, I just got this in today. What about that?
I was just kind of hoping that you'd spray paint the whole thing.
Just like you.
Just like the other pedal. Like I just get it. It's like sparkly purple and none of the knobs move because they're all just basically
glued down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about it, but yeah.
But I think this was a better choice. The black one's cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and it sounds really cool. So you'll be stoked on that one.
Definitely.
But I guess I am doing a crappy job. Maybe it's because we're doing the whole thing over the internet. I didn't introduce you. So Paul Pennington, he's from the Flippin Flippers Podcast. You probably have listened to his podcast. You should be listening to his podcast. So I'm stoked to have him on the show. I've listened to his show for a while. So thanks for coming on to the show.
No, it's awesome. I was a little jealous that Ko got to go and hang out with you guys.
He lives
a couple weeks
10
ago.
miles away.
Yeah, and I'm on the other coast, so I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But then, you guys were like, hey, let's do it over the internet. How do we do that?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's do it.
Apparently we're still figuring it out, but yeah, that's why I was like, it was way easier to have Ko on the show.
Yeah, you should have just been like, can you just come by?
Yeah, just fly out here. That'd be way easier. We'll just pay for a plane ticket. Okay, so I was going to go into an interview kind of thing, and then we'll roundtable some topics at the end. You cool with that?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go into the podcast kind of thing a little bit later, but I wanted to get into the beginning. So when did music, become a part of your life? What was the catalyst for you?
I always liked music. Even as a little kid, my mom told me they had 8 tracks and crap, and I would just listen to them all the time as a little kid, 3, and or records or whatever. But I didn't start playing an instrument until I was about 14, 15. And then I started playing guitar, and then it just took off from there.
So guitar, was that your first instrument or?
Yeah, I played piano for maybe 3 or 4 months. It was at school, they teach you how to play an instrument, and then they switch after the semester or whatever. And then they went to guitar, and then I just really like guitar.
Yeah, definitely. So, did you ever get into bands in your high school years?
High school years, a couple, nothing we didn't maybe played one crappy show, nothing big. It wasn't until I hit college and then we were playing like shows every weekend. You know, once I went to college, it was like found guys that were into the same music. That problem was the music. Like what I liked, I couldn't find people who liked what I liked in this area.
Yeah. So what was your style? What we were looking for?
Just all punk stuff.
Punk rock. Okay.
That's what I wanted to play. I mean, I learned like surf rock and I learned like blues stuff and classic rock, but like the punk stuff is what I wanted to play.
Yeah.
Like hardcore punk, like skate punk. What are you talking?
A lot of pop punk, honestly. But I liked everything. I mean, I listened to a lot of I like a lot of hardcore stuff too. So, but probably wasn't. It was probably mostly pop punk because that's what I liked in high school.
Yeah,
and that's what I was like looking to play. You know.
So definitely. So what were some of the bands that you were into?
MXPX, Blink-182, NoFX, No Use for a Name, like a lot of, you know, like those types of bands. And then like a lot of like new school hardcore, like Comeback Kid, Champion. Those are the bands I really, you know, really loved.
Nice. Okay, cool. So when you started, you were only guitar? Did you sing or?
I like in bands I sang and played guitar. And up until high school, I didn't really. I mean, I always fiddled around in my room or whatever, but I never like played and sang live or anything until I was in college.
Okay, dang. What was your first like giggable rig? What was your gigging rig back in the day? Your first band?
Gigging. Okay, the first giggable rig. I had a Fender Twin. I had a vintage Fender Twin. It's a 62 twin reverb.
Yeah.
And then pedals were probably, I had a Big Muff, TU2, and then I had a juice box from DOD.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't really know what that was. I just was like, I walked into like the local music shop and I was like, oh, I need a drive and I have a Big Muff and I don't really like it. I want something like, you know, more like rock or punk, and he's like this one, and it was not what I wanted at all. And it's and especially through like a Twin, which is like the cleanest amp ever.
Yeah, well,
it just didn't sound good at all to me, you know.
Yeah, I guess like even a Big Muff for punk is kind of not your.
Yeah, because I got it because it was, you know, it was I think like $40, and you know it sounded cool, but it was Smashing Pumpkins. It wasn't really punk, you know. And it was fun to play with, but it wasn't what I wanted. And then I basically didn't really know a lot about pedals then. And I was like, I probably could have just got a DS1 and been fine, but instead I just bought like a JCM 900.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's
and that
a good
did
start.
it for me. Yeah, because I went to the same place I bought the Twin from. I was like, I want something that's like rocking. Like I need something like punk stuff. And he's like, this is what you want. And he just pointed at the JCM 900, and it was used. I got a good price on it, and that was it, man. I played that thing forever.
That was your like band, the whole thing. How long did that go for?
I was in one band that was called Losers Up First. I was in that for about 4 to 5 years, and then I got married and like just everything hit the fan, and that was it.
You're kind of
Wow, okay.
You know,
you're kind of like, we're done with this.
Well, you know, it was just that everybody parted their ways kind of thing, you know. And they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get married? I guess we don't have a band anymore." I was like, "I didn't say that," but then it was just like, you know, it was over, it was done. But
Yeah.
it was fun while it lasted, you know.
Yeah. So what's your current playing situation now? Are you?
I just play at church. That's pretty much it. I mean, I play at the house, but I got 3 kids. I don't have time for a band at all. But you know, kids ruin your life. They're great, but they ruin your life. So you have to become a hobbyist at that point.
Yeah, that's why I make for a better uncle than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a great uncle. Actually, my wife is the oldest of 6, so she's got like little brothers. They're
Yeah.
like teenagers now, but like I was a great brother-in-law, like perfect. Like they were like, "Hey, let's hang out. You can watch some crappy movies. We'll send you back home." And yeah, but as a parent, I don't know where to send them. I keep trying to send them places.
Keep coming back.
Yeah, they keep showing up and crying and pooping. It's crazy.
I had some questions about playing in church, like, because I always hear people like talk about it. I'm like, what does that really mean? Like, I don't really know
What is
like
church?
No, because like I understand
Like,
what
how
church
far
is.
do you want me to go?
I guess we could be like, what does playing in church mean? Are you guys like in a group? Do you have like?
Yeah, so I'm in a worship band. They basically, it's a cover band at this point. There's a list of songs, maybe like 40 songs or so, and you kind of learn them. And then the worship leader changes the key every week, and you basically just go, show up at practice and play your songs.
Okay, so like, do you have this same set every week or?
No, it's different. It's like that's why I said there's about 40 songs. They'll pick from those 40 songs.
Okay, yeah.
So you'll have like 4 or 5 songs. So at this point, because I've been doing it for so long, like this, I don't even show up to practice anymore because I just told them I'm busy and I just
so
really
good.
can't. I am so freaking good. No, that's not it. But I know the songs well enough that I don't have to show up, and I got 3 kids and a job, and it's like, well, I can't be there. And I'll show up on Sunday morning, do their quick practice, and then play the songs.
Okay, I got it. Because I was like wondering, I'm like, are these originals that these guys play?
We do
week?
a few originals.
Okay.
We started doing some originals as of this year. We do like 3 originals, I think. So that's kind of fun because you're actually writing and working with people to write songs, which is fun. But yeah, most of them are just straight covers.
Okay, yeah, because that's one thing I was like, okay, I'm in these different gear groups, and I just like kind of randomly like see people talking about like, oh, we played church, and they're like, what does that even mean?
You're like, what does that mean?
And I was like,
somebody tell me.
And I'm like, just be, I'm like, yeah, dude, church all day, bro. Usually have that on Sundays, man.
What's the deal with church? I don't get it.
Anyway, so
explain it because I don't get it.
That's cool. So what's your? So you play out like, is it just every Sunday or is it just like random ones?
I
you have
play
a crew?
every Sunday. Our church is not super big. There's about 200 people that go, and we had 2 electric guitarists, lead guys that we used to alternate, and the one guy, he just left. So It's basically just me as far as lead, and then if my friend Alan plays on the worship team as well, he plays bass. And if he's not there because he's got to work out of town or whatever, then I play bass.
Okay. So what's your guitar rig or your pedal rig looking like?
Pedal rig. I have a huge pedal board because I hate, like I've done the mini board, I've done the big board. And honestly, like the thing I've found that works the best is just like kind of a medium-sized board that has everything I like to use.
Yeah.
Whether if it's for me or for church or whatever. But right now, I use a volume pedal. It's from Hilton. They do a lot of like slide stuff, like for slide guitars. So it's just like that's the style volume pedal. But I don't like the Ernie balls because it basically just sucks everything out of everything, and you can really hear it.
Yeah.
Then just like a boost. I actually my board is covered in gain, so I have like. Let's see. I have like 6 drive pedals.
Oh, dang.
and three fuzzes. I don't use them all, obviously, there, but I hate like switching them out for like playing stuff at my house or like whatever. So I just like to leave everything on my board. So like I have like 2 Pelotars and a Gray Stash like on my board.
Jeez.
I like pedals. Sorry. And then I have I struggled for a long time to find a delay that I liked because of the versatility. I had a timeline for a while and that was okay, but then I felt like I didn't use it well. Like I just used like 2 presets, and then I was like, what am I doing with this thing? It's just expensive. And last year I bought the Alter Ego X4.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's huge, but it does the job. It's got 3 presets and a tap tempo, works great. And then I just have like, I'm always switching out with like modulation, so I have like, I just got that Emperor Chorus pedal from JHS, and I really like that. And then, and I got a couple Matthews Effects pedals as my modulation.
What do you have? The Chemist? Is that one of yours?
No, I have the Cosmonaut reverb.
Okay, yeah.
And then I have I just got the Surgeon, which is another delay, but it has a ton of like weird little like effects that go in the delay. So there's like kind of like I can't think now. There's like a flange version and a phaser that all go through the delay. That sound
weird.
really,
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Surgeon is super weird, but sounds great.
Dang, that's pretty cool. I think I've seen it, but I didn't know what that pedal was.
Yeah, he didn't run it for a long time. So, because he kind of will do the stuff where it's, maybe like a limited run. And I think he only had it out for, however many numbers he had.
All right. So you kind of mentioned about your chorus pedal that you just got, your chorus journey. You're on this thing to find the chorus for you, but have you figured if there's anything else in your, bag of tricks that maybe you don't have or that you're looking for to add to your board, or even just for your home like practice and playing?
I'm always looking for something, but I wanted something different, and I just recently played the Flatlight by Old Blood Noise, and that thing is so weird and so like it's like almost uncontrollable, and then you can kind of rein it in a little bit, and the noises that I make is just fantastic. It's based around a flange, which I don't like flange at all. But yet all these like side effects that they put in with it that just like make it sound fantastic.
So like, is it like warping the sound, or what else is it doing to a flange? Because flange is already pretty weird.
There's like an echo one, which is basically a delay that's added on. And that's probably the most usable effect. And then there's like, there's one that sounds kind of like a phaser. It's hard to tell because they have weird names. They don't say phaser. They don't say flanger. They don't, you just kind of know what it's based on. Yeah. But, it's a cool pedal. I mean, the sounds it makes when you combine these like different noises are just like really interesting and really like, kind of like I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. I played that. I sent it to Co. He's been playing it. I want it back so I can play it again.
Yeah. What's your guitar and amp situation with this whole thing?
I have a Blues Junior. That's the only amp I currently have. And then I play a Telly. I actually have a 69 Telly that's all parts. I basically built it over built it over like 3 years of just like finding like, I just got some body, and then I found a neck for it that was a 69, and then I searched for like 2 years for a body for it, but I just kept playing, like whatever it was until I found a body. That's so cool. It was kind of like so I just kind of kept adding to it as I found parts, and now everything is from 1969 except for the pickups, because I just really didn't want to pay the price of pickups.
Pay through the teeth for those, yeah.
And honestly, I just think, like the new stuff sounds good. I have Rio Grande pickups in it, and those sound fantastic.
Yeah. Are you playing those, or that guitar, are you playing that mainly in church, or is that kind of just
I have like
keep that at home kind of thing?
I play at church. I have a Jazz Master, a Jaguar. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have a Jaguar that I play at church. Well, I just picked up a Jag Master, which is like a Squire. I just picked that up, so I'm like, what is that called again?
You're confusing me, mister.
But I have a Jaguar. I play that a lot, and then I have just like an Epiphone Les Paul Special that I play too.
Yeah.
So those are my 3 guitars that I play.
Okay, so I wanted to bring it into the Flippin Flippers podcast. Let's go a little bit into that and your whole deal with that.
That hot garbage, cool.
No, it's a beautiful.
We love hot garbage.
It's a beautiful mess.
Good,
How about that?
It's a show for you.
So, when did that start, and kind of what's the premise of your podcast? That's kind of like it is still different than others.
Yeah, it's let's see. It probably started. We're probably about a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about buying and selling gear for the most part. Well, now it's just about talking about gear because that's just what we love. But it really kind of started because we were big fans of 60 Cycle Hum, and when they first started, that's all they talked about was buying gear, modding gear, fixing it up, trading it, selling it. That was kind of their focus. And not that their change is bad, but it's just they've just grown so big that they just have, such a big audience, and they talk about new stuff that comes out and, all this different stuff that, they kind of stopped talking about their buying and selling.
Their flips,
and part of it is because their flips they were doing it to like supplement their income, part of it. but they kind of stopped doing that because they were doing demo videos and making money, or doing other things and making money. And not that that's bad, but it was like there was like, oh well, I liked that, and then now it's gone. So I just talked to my friend Esteban that I've known for years and was like, we should just do that. And so we just started podcasting. And at first, I think we got a lot of crap for it. And then after that, people are like, "Oh, they're just gonna keep doing it." Okay, know. And after that, it was like, okay, whatever. But it's been fun. And Esteban took a leave of absence, and Co Snyder kind of co-hosted a little bit. And then I was like, "You want to do this all the time?" And he's like, "Yep." And so he's been on since we went to NAMM.
Yeah,
and that's been a blast.
I mean, what I think is kind of cool is like your stories, and I'm like listening to it. I'm like, how does this guy find these deals, and how does he? Like, I think maybe I have a lot of free time, which doesn't sound right, but I'm always just looking. Like I picked up a DL4 used for like $25 the other day. What?
And I was
Are you
like,
shitting me?
No. 100% true. And it was like a lot. The guy had like a guitar and an amp, just some garbage. Like, it was like I don't remember what it was. Just some garbage metal guitar, and then and like, a Fender R15 or whatever. And I was like, "What do you want for the pedal?" He's like, "I don't know, 25." I was like, "Done. I'll be down there."
You like speed the whole way, and you're like,
yeah. And I happened to be in Syracuse, which is about an hour from me, and I happened to be out there anyway. So I was like, "Oh, this couldn't work out any better."
Man,
that's cool.
But it's just like I'm always like on Facebook Marketplace. I'm always on like Craigslist. I'm always just kind of looking for deals, and I haven't been as diligent as I was last year at looking for stuff. But it goes in spurts. You have really great years and really bad years, and you just keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Like when I listen to you guys, like especially recently, I'm like listening. I'm like, yeah, I need to sell my stuff. Yeah, you know what? I can get rid of some stuff and get some money. And like even just listening to it, I'm like, he sold that and got some money for it. You know what? I can sell my shit and get money for it. I can get space. I can get money. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know if I'm being brainwashed here. Instead of flipping.
That's what Co's like, I don't like selling my stuff though. And I'm like, yeah, well, why don't you buy stuff intentionally to sell it? And then you just get to play with it until you sell it. And he's like, no.
Because I hate the premise of this podcast.
He's like, I'm still going to do it. But he's like, I'm going to play devil's advocate for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think I've ever sold anything and made a profit of it. Like I was thinking about like, oh, I've sold like amps before or guitars or whatever, but I've always like either bought them new because I was a dipshit, or like I bought them used and I used the hell out of them, and so I got even less money for them. And I was like,
which is okay too. Like, I mean, I definitely have bought stuff and then played it like crazy and went, okay, well, I had it for 4 years and I lost $25. Like, who cares? It was like a really cheap renter's fee,
Yeah. It's like you think of the money that you paid to like, oh, like I rented this for a little bit. But yeah. And so like because of like I've listened to you guys every week, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I can sell some amps and I can sell some pedals that I don't use anymore and stuff like that. So whatever you're doing, you're influencing people. You're influencing me at least.
Well, now I feel bad.
That's good because I'm like, I look and I'm like, man, I have all this crap I don't need anymore. And I'm like, I think about it. Like I was thinking like, not to always bring it back to that, but I have that Fractal FX8. Like multi-effects thing. I'm like, I have so many effects here. I don't really actually need any like actual ones. Because anything like if I do delays or reverbs, I'm usually just going to do that in Pro Tools when I'm recording or something. Like I'm not going to really like put like a time delay and record with that. I'll just like have it in Pro Tools.
But just think how cool you'll look on stage.
Just need a bigger board and more.
Yeah, so big.
Put every pedal I have on there.
You like rent a U-Haul to get it down to the venue. That'd be so cool.
But like that would be cool. Like you need a team of guys to bring it out for you, though.
Just like a whole crew just to bring a board.
Yeah, get him a 6-foot sub too to go with it.
Yeah, like
they're gonna require that. Yeah,
like I'm gonna need that in the green room with a bunch of green M&Ms.
That's all it is.
All right, well. You had mentioned, I think I heard in an earlier episode of Flippin Flippers that you had a previous podcast or that you were host of one or guest or something.
Yeah, this is years ago. So this was probably 2004, 2005. We had a podcast. I can't even talk. A Ponecast. That's what we had.
Poning noobs.
The Ponecast. It was a podcast, and it was just it was like a kind of pop culture and then like music, but we just played whatever music we wanted. And it was super fun, but we had like 4 listeners because podcasts weren't like really a thing yet. And my friend Brian, who got me to do it with him, was like, yeah, you ever heard of a podcast? I was like, no. He's like, you have an iPod? And I was like, yeah. He's like, it goes on that. Like, I didn't know what it was at all, you know? And he kind of tricked me into doing it with him. And it was super fun. And we probably did it for about 6 months. And then he's like, yeah, we have 7 listeners. And they're all my friends. And he's like, I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's like, okay, whatever.
Giving up the dream, boys. Giving it up.
He's like, I put in the time. It's just not there.
Yeah, I guess that was. I guess I thought it was like you were doing it for a longer time, and you kind of.
No, not that long. I mean, it was fun.
But you were like,
did it every week.
You were able to cut your teeth on an older podcast, and that kind of gave you the talking chops to start a new one back with Flippin Flippers. So
yeah, and then I didn't really. I mean, I listened to podcasts after that, but I didn't really like ever do one until we started the Flippin Flippers. So like even like recording a podcast was like, okay, I don't know how to do this, you know?
Me too, apparently.
Obviously.
Yeah, but you got like recording experience and you guys do it like together, like you're in the same room. So that's like at least that's half the battle. Like I had to like, you know, like Esteban and I had to research like, okay, we should just record our phone conversations. How do we do that?
Yeah.
You know, like we had
shit.
like we had no idea how to do anything. And then somebody was like, "Oh, you should try Google Hangout." And I was like, "What's Google Hangout?"
Yeah. That's what I was like figuring out. I'm like, how do all these people record podcasts like remotely? And I'm still apparently like, we'll see how this episode goes. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And you know, like the Gearsome guys, they were super nice. They like, you know, I was on an episode of theirs before we did the Flippin Flippers, and they just had me on as a guest, and it was super fun. But then I didn't know what I was doing, so I just asked like Cole. I was like, Cole Duke. I was like, what do I freaking do? And he's like, oh, do this, try this, do this. And like each week he was like, yeah, that sounds really bad.
Thanks, man.
Like, awesome. He's like, try this or try that. And you know, he let me pick his brain like a ton, which was really cool of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hot garbage the first like 5 episodes.
Yeah, I think ours was like, because it was all like controlled, I was able to do it, all the recording myself. Like it sounded really good, but our content was hot garbage.
You know, I don't think so. Like I listened from the get-go, like right when it came out, and I was like,
don't.
I thought it was good. I honestly listened right away, and I was like, these guys have good chemistry. And I mean, I don't know if you knew where you were going with it, but at least you were talking about gear and stuff that people liked.
Yeah, I think that was like the initial thing. If you're like starting a podcast and you're thinking about doing it, just do it. Like there's no other, nothing else behind it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, every person will tell you that does a podcast that it's like, just try it and, you know, ask for feedback. You know, like Clifton asked me a ton of questions, and like, you know, I asked the Gearsome guys a ton of questions. Like you just ask and people will give you feedback.
Yeah, that's what's really cool with like the whole community. It's like everybody's super like, I can't think of a better word. Everybody's super chill. Everybody's super
straight chill, bruh.
Yeah, everybody's super cool because like we want to help each other out, and everybody's doing their own thing with like, you think with guitar, it's like, oh, that's so niche, but everybody has their own way and own like type of
right.
Yeah, they don't like shoo you away, like get lost, poser.
Yeah.
That's our thing, and then like stomp all your stuff. And
everybody's doing a different thing. Like our whole thing is like just being super offensive and just talking about punk bands. And everybody's just
I would say just mildly offensive.
I wouldn't say super offensive, just mildly.
Like there's
because we're on the offense, bro.
Yeah,
that's how offensive we are.
We're always like, was it like like violently coming at companies like, your cable broke, fuck you. Or like a pedal broke, and I'm just like, this MXR fucking sucks, piece of garbage. And then
don't buy MXR, but I love them.
And then I sent an email back. I'm like, this broke. I'm like, oh no, we'll fix that for you, man. I'm like, you know what, MXR is all right.
They're the best.
And I'm like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be so hot to trot. But
I've straight bashed companies, just been like, they're garbage, I freaking hate them. And then like 2 weeks later they solve the problem. I'm like, Yeah, they were great. You guys should check them out. They're really
They were
good.
angels.
Yeah, man. They're like the shirt off your back kind of guys.
Yeah, you feel real bad. You feel real bad about it.
That's what like some of these. I'm like, it's not like Boss or anybody's MXR is gonna listen.
No,
Fuck 'em.
right? Yeah, like MXR is not going to send me any money, so it's fine.
Yeah, so fuck them, basically.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a question that's been bothering me all day.
Okay.
All right.
I got the answer. Let's go.
All right. If you ate yourself, would you double in size, or would you just disappear?
No, I think you're like that. You're like that snake that eats itself. You just form a circle.
Yeah, you just keep going.
So you look like a donut, and then somebody else picks you up and eats you.
Yeah, until the next big fish comes along, you know? Well, Brian, what about you? What do you think?
I think I would just disappear.
Yeah?
Like I would be like at Pizza the Hut. I would just eat myself to death.
Ate himself to death.
He ate himself to death.
See, I would be so shameful. I would disappear. I'd like leave society. That's how it would go.
like I just
Yeah.
You just live in a cave and like
Yeah.
slowly eating yourself.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, I taste so damn good.
But crying like at the
Yeah.
same time.
Oh, Jesus. All right, Paul, I have a couple topics if you're ready to roundtable, discuss a couple things.
All right, cool.
Okay, so what's a piece of gear that you had previously written off, but now you're into? Like, you didn't want to give it the time of day, but now you really dig it. How about that? Kyle, you want to go first?
For gear? Yeah. So I've really enjoyed tremolos. I used to think they were stupid. Now I really like them.
That's kind of like a year ago, all pedals were kind of off your
Yeah, they were
radar.
all really stupid. But that one was like really dumb. I'm like, oh, why would you want that? That sounds like it just sounds like one of the I don't know. For me, I really like dialing in one of the pedals I got recently, and I really found it.
Was
like-
the utility knife?
Yeah, utility knife from Southampton, and I really loved just messing with that, and you just I don't know, kind of just changes things for me. I go, oh, I kind of want a tremolo pedal now.
It's funny because like on the last two records that we had, I used tremolo a bunch.
Did I use tremolo though? No.
Like no,
I
tremolo.
hated those songs, by the way. No.
I
So-
denounced those songs. I'd never played bass on
Well,
those.
yeah, I don't really use anything, so I'm just kind of wandering through. I think I may have to go on a tremolo journey.
Okay, that's gonna be yours.
Yeah, I really like. I want all the tremolo pedals. I'm not going to sell them either.
Just
Buy one, keep it,
get them all.
save up for the next one. It's like Pokemon.
Kind of catch all the tremolos.
Yep.
I had like 3 at one point, and I was like, the hell am I using all these tremolos for? Until I just got the Strymon Flint, and I'm like, oh, that's all the tremolo I ever need.
I want that one. Then I'm going to steal it from you.
That's what you're starting.
I'm starting there. Yeah.
like I think I'm gonna try like this company Strymon out.
Yeah.
They're
I
like
think
an
they're really
underdog.
Yeah, really small mom and pop setup.
They don't have a big name, but I think you're gonna hear from
I'm
them
gonna
a
help them
lot.
out. Yeah.
Okay, for me, it's wah. I never thought I would be into wah pedals all that much because I'm just so into punk rock and stuff like that, and I always like hear like wah and it's like classic dad rock and type shit like that, or like Kirk Hammett just going wait, or he's like he basically like he like hold the chord and go wait. I'm like, God, that sounds like garbage. And I mean,
But when you do it,
when
because you do the
I
same
want to
thing.
sound like that.
Yeah, exactly.
well, no, because there's different applications for it, and I mainly am using it for I can't think of a better word for it. I'm using the effect pedal as an effect, like randomly, like to add and like throwing like swirly delays and like Hesher type reverb and stuff like that, and then just doing a wah pedal, kind of like playing and doing like a maybe fast like speed picking and stuff like that. It can really like I don't know, like swell up. I think it's kind of cool for like our style band. And I don't know, I always thought it was like also like, oh yeah, because I borrowed a buddy's wah and he's like, oh yeah, you can borrow. I don't, really have a need for it. I'm like, okay, we're recording an album. Like I really want like more effects, and people just gave me a bunch of shit while we were recording. And I was like, what the hell do people use wah for? It sounds like garbage. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to use like the porn star, like funk wah. And I'm like, wicka, 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 wicka. I'm like, nope. This is not going to work for our band.
I don't know many porn stars that play a wah.
Yeah, you aren't watching the right ones, man.
It's a brand, porn star wah.
Oh, porn star
you
wah.
haven't tried it? It's good. It's good.
Like the
Really
porno
good.
funk kind of wicka, wicka, wicka. And I was like, yep, this is, because I was doing that. And then people were like, this is the one thing you don't want to do when you're playing wah is like strum and do like the quarter notes, like waka waka waka, and I was like, that's the first thing I did. It sounded like shit.
Well, it's like when someone hands you a guitar, like when you don't play guitar, you just hit open strings.
Yeah,
You're like that guy, that guy doesn't play guitar. There you go.
And then I tried like I found one use for it. It's on the album. It's like one of the songs that we have. It's like a cocktail thing. It's like you push it on. I was able to put that and have it like the mid scoop and like whatever the cue. Whatever, it was a good sound and able to do that with like a time delay and chop it up and reverb and stuff like that. It was like, oh, is it really cool? And like, that made me think, I'm like, oh, I can use wah for my band in a certain way. So that's what sparked it off. And I use it all the time now. And I'm like, every time we get into like a weird bridge part, I'm like wah all the fucking time. So that's me. What about you, Paul?
Let's see. I think definitely this year, like chorus. I've always hated chorus because it just sounds like either like Nirvana or it sounds like, I don't know, it just sounds like freaking garbage, like just 80s.
Like cheesy 80s stuff?
Like, yeah, cheesy 80s. I just can't. I never been able to get into it. Good. I'm glad.
Thanks, man.
I mean, this sounds fine, like whatever, but it's just nothing. I just never got into that sound as guitar. It just is ear piercing for me. And, yeah, so I went on a little bit of a chorus journey, and I played a few I really liked, and that's kind of where I'm at. I really like that Emperor pedal, and plus it's also like vibrato, so I can switch it out when I'm like, oh, this
really
pedal
cool.
sucks, and then switch it out and be like, oh, I like this again, But I think chorus is a definitely a sound that I did not like. Learning guitar in the late '90s, like chorus was awful.
Yeah.
It was on every record and it sounded awful. And I definitely was not into it. And I never went back until like this year.
Are you finding that you're using chorus with like drive or with dirty sound?
Yeah. I like a lot of dirt. I hardly ever play clean. There's always some kind of drive on. Obviously, we talked about my board with freaking 13 drives on it. There's always some kind, even, and it's like gain stages. I always have like an always on. And then there's like, like my next stage. And then there's like, like a real drive, like a distortion or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it like distorted. I like it with a little bit of gain. And when it's really distorted, it can be as like drippy and gross as chorus can be. And I like it that way. But if it's like a light drive, I don't want it like that at all. It's too much.
Yeah. I always found, I guess I'm like the perpetrator, the one that you hate the most. I always liked chorus on clean guitar.
Okay.
And like you'll hear like, it's not like the forefront on the mix. It'll be like on like the far back right ear. It'll be like a chorus, like doing an arpeggio, like picking and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, this is like super like, Billy Idol type stuff, man. This is like really like 80s.
It was like Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, I was like really into it. And so now I'm like, okay, I started recently adding like drive to it and figuring, I'm like, oh, this sounds pretty cool too. So, but I guess for me, I like clean has never actually ever been spanky clean. It's always been like on the edge of breakup kind of cleans. So
sure,
maybe that works out for you. Or you'd be like, man, playing without a pilot sucks. Like all I can hear is that chorus guitar. But no, I mean, that's cool. So that's kind of what maybe what drove or sparked your chorus journey here. So that's cool.
And there's definitely bands that I've been listening to that have chorus, and I'm like, man, how do they make that sound good? Like why do I like that when I listen to it and then I play it and I'm like, oh, I freaking hate chorus. And probably some of it's definitely my playing, and some of it's just like, as you get older, you're like, oh, I don't mind that as much. I don't care what people think, so
yeah, you get a little less in your own head, I think.
Right, for sure. And I think that's part of it too.
Okay. So I have another topic if you're ready, Paul.
Yo, I'm ready.
Okay,
Fire
so
away.
we'll get this one going, and we'll maybe do a different order this time. Maybe we'll go Kyle, Paul, and me to end it out. So this one, naming your guitars. What's your stance on that one? What's your 2 cents on that whole deal? Is it cool? Is it lame? Is it like, do you not give a shit? Or is it like super against it? So how about that? Kyle?
I used to do it to some of my guitars. I don't do it anymore. So I used to have a blue agave blue telly that I really liked, and I gave it a name, and then I sold it. And you just brought up
Bad memories.
I'm pretty sad now. No, so I gave it a name, and I haven't done it since. So can I share the name? Is it
Yeah.
Is it too private? I don't think I want to.
Give us the name.
So it's a musician's last name, but it's a girl's first name. So I kind of gave it like a little 1-2 there. So Lacey is the name I gave it, and then I sold it, and that's it. I mean, it's just a guitar that came and gone, and I've never loved a guitar since.
That one broke your heart.
Yeah, I've loved and lost, So
poor Lacey.
They all mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
You think if Lacey showed up on Craigslist, you would go after her, try to woo her back?
Probably, but I'd pay a dirty dollar for her. She's been around, so.
Jesus Christ.
What? It's true.
Well, you see her and she's aged.
Yeah.
She's aged pretty bad.
It wasn't like a super special guitar. It was a Mexican Fender. It wasn't anything crazy, but I just really loved it. It was like my first guitar that I had bought brand new, and
Yeah, that was like your first one.
Yep.
All right, Paul. What about you? What's your stance on this?
I've never done it. I don't think it's like the people who do it. I'm not like, oh, that's weird. Like it doesn't really bother me or anything. But like when you see that guy and he's like, yeah, I picked her up. Don't touch her. Like that's my girl.
I think when
that's
they
freaking weird.
I think when they bring it into like. Yeah, that like calling it like a her or a she or like
that's
really,
where it's
really
a little
into
uncomfortable.
That's really weird.
That's like the guy who has like, like the ventriloquist dummy or something. Like it's weird. It's like that's his best friend. He's like, I'm gonna play her tonight. Like, okay, cool, bud. I gotta go.
Yeah, I think I've like had a buddy. He was like super cool guy, and then he like was really into his guitars, which he had like a nice like 3 really nice guitars, like a 70s Telly. He had like a I think a 60s Gibson. It was just a really cool, like full of mojo type of guitars, and he like kept calling them her, and I was like, damn, that's kind of weird.
It sounds dirty. Yeah,
like
it's weird.
Like, oh yeah, you got to give her the right feel and stuff. I'm like, let's just put that away. Let's go get a beer, bro. Let's stop talking like that. And I'm like, that can kind of put, I think, me off or whatever. But I guess I'm gonna barge in here.
But you have names for them.
So I don't mind naming my guitars, and then for me, it's just like a fun thing. Like it's like I've always like thought about it with like, especially like I guess because I'm so super immature. Like it's definitely like a kid thing that kids would do, I was a guitar teacher for a little while, and like 3 of my students, they were like all like 12, 13, 14 years old, and they're like all named their guitars. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, oh, I do that too. And so like, and then I'm like thinking, I'm like, yeah, I'm almost 30. And these are teenagers. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you got any Pokemon cards? Let's go, bro.
Like, these are my people.
Like, I'm going to fucking rock your ass on Smash Brothers. Boom. So to me, I'm like, I just don't really think it's that big of a deal, but I don't have much of a stand on it, because I see like maybe certain arguments or whatever on like online, or people talk about it or whatever, and they're like, this guy's like really fucked up. He's like that's such a crazy thing to do. I'm like, just whatever. I guess like maybe that's like a lot of things like with us. It's like we're kind of like, yeah, it could be like one or two ways. You could be really, really crazy about it, or it's like, it's not that big a deal. But I do name my guitars. I'm not going to go into all of them. I mainly name them, and this is why I'm deciding to end it on a bad note. This is why I named them.
Thanks, Brian.
I named them after anime characters based on their color or whatever type of guitar or like style of instrument that they are. And that's why I named my guitars. So everyone is like a different, like, oh, this character is pink, or this guitar is pink, and the character is like their bass color or their hair is pink or whatever. And that's kind of how I name mine. And it's I don't like go like waving that flag around, but I'm like, yeah, they all kind of have their own names and stuff like that. And then I told Kyle once, he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Because I had him paint like a guitar. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna name this one this, and like it's gonna be part of this." I'm like, "Damn it, I really like that color, and now it's fucking terrible because I figured out why you're painting it that."
Yeah, I hate playing those guitars now.
Yeah,
I love them.
I was gonna sell one of my guitars to Kyle. I'm like, "Okay, I'll sell it to you for like a really cheap price, but you got to keep the name of it." He's like, "It's gonna be a hard pass." But yeah, I mean, I think like some people have like really big stands against it, and I was like, I don't really care. If somebody had like, "Oh, this is like, it's really fucking weird," I'm like, I think it's more lame than weird.
Yeah, like Sinusoid used to name all their cables. Like when you bought a cable, it came with like a name. And like I didn't have a problem. I thought it was cool. It was like, oh, cool. This, but I wouldn't have been like, "Where's Rose at?" Like I wouldn't have been like, you know what I mean? Like, "Oh, you move my cable. Where's Rose?" I wouldn't have like done that. But like I thought it was like, oh, that's a cute little thing. Like that's fine. And I had a shell pink Telecaster. That's what the body was on that 69 neck. Until I found like a body for it. And my wife was like, "Oh, you should call it Shelly." And I was like, okay, I never did, but she was like, "Oh, she did," but it didn't bother me, but I wasn't like, "Where's Shelly at? I need her,"
Yeah.
But
I think that's where it is too. It's like I have like, and I've thought about different names of like the guitars and stuff like that based on these like different characters or whatever. And I'm like, I never referred to him as that. I'm like, oh, that's my Les Paul. And that's my like, SG or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I never think about it. I'm like, oh, this is just something for me that I did. And I think people have different levels of it.
And like everybody names their, like not everybody, but a lot of people name their cars, and I do too. Which is funny that I don't name my guitars, but I've definitely named like almost all the cars I've ever owned.
Oh yeah,
but I don't ever refer to them as that. Like I named them all after Anchorman.
Okay.
Like all different characters from Anchorman. And like I'm not like my current one, I'm not like "Where's Dorothy Mantooth's keys?" Like I'm not like
yeah,
but like there's a level for sure where it gets like uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah, no, I think there's like that threshold of it's like, see, like I've never named my cars, and I was like, my car's a piece of shit and I don't even care about it. But I'm like, oh, I can see people naming their, cars or whatever. And it doesn't bug me, but I could see like, it's a fine line. You could take it to that point real fucking quick by calling it by its name and only like saying her or him. Where's his keys?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. It's very weird when like your friend's like, "Well, I'm going to hop in Bootsy and I'll see you in a few minutes." And like, that's weird. Like, why didn't you just call your car that? Oh, it's his name.
Yeah, we need to call your psychiatrist right now.
Yeah, get him on speed dial.
Go to your therapist's office. Just figure it out.
Yeah, and if I really like thought that much about my guitars, about their names, and this is her, this is like, this one is like Xenon, don't like. I destroy my fucking guitars, and I really like scratch them up and throw them around and like break it. Like they've broken the necks on a bunch of them. If I really cared that much about those guitars, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I broke her neck the other night. Like it'd be like, what the fuck did you say? Yeah, no, I threw that thing around and like I dropped it, whatever. And it'd be like,
I never liked her anyways.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even right now, when I was trying to do that, when I was trying to do that bit, I keep saying it. I'm not the one of the guys that say her. Yeah, when it's like, oh, I dropped her the other day. I'm like, no, I broke the neck the other day. And then, so I guess I'm not one of those guys. I just name my guitars. So there's a fine line between being like really crazy and weird and, just naming your inanimate objects.
That's kind of cringy.
Yeah, it can get there really fucking quick. So I think that's kind of all we had. Unless you had anything, Paul.
Why did you guys decide to do a podcast?
He makes me.
Well,
do
I know why Kyle did, but why did you?
yeah. I'm trying to figure that out. That's why I come every week.
I was thinking about it, and I was just like, one day I was listening to all these different podcasts. A lot of them were guitar podcasts. I'm like, yeah, these are really cool. And a friend said, like, she had mentioned it, like, why don't you just do one? Because she had, I think, listened to like a thing about like Kevin Smith saying like, if you want to do a podcast, you can just put it on there. It's the barrier to entry is like really fucking low. Like, just do it. And I was like, I guess I have something to say. And if anybody's going to want to listen to it, then they will, or they won't. And that's as easy as that. And so our whole premise of this show was like mainly like I was going to try and get like local musicians every week. And I'm like, ooh, that's really fucking hard. And so the first one was Kyle. I'm like, oh, he's my friend. He can record. And I'm like, oh, we kind of have obviously a good banter back and forth because like we've known each other for over 20 years. And so I'm like, let's just do this. And he was like really nervous at first. I'm like, and I kept badgering him to do it. And I'm like, and we really didn't figure out what the show was going to be until like we were episode like 5 maybe. Because it was like every week we were like, oh yeah, we're going to have like guests all the time. Then you realize like having people on every week or every 2 weeks is really hard to do. Because just scheduling and trying to get people in or whatever, and people even being interested in it is a pain in the ass.
Sure.
So,
yeah, like Clifton has talked about how he struggles with that because his show is like an interview show.
Yeah.
And so like that's like it's like impossible to find somebody every single week.
Yeah. And then, I realized I'm like not only listening to interview type podcasts, a lot of the ones that I listen to is like they're talking about a subject. They have something that they're talking about, like their take on something. And so I like started thinking about like what Kyle and I have to offer. This gear world is our take of being, in a gigging, band playing shitty shows or good shows and doing our own recordings and stuff like that. And we have our take on guitars and gear from that aspect. So we're not like a big, huge signed band, but we are still playing shows and we're trying to have a professional sounding band, professional feel, and still having fun and shit. And then there's things that we talk about that maybe, people who are like hobby musicians who don't gig or who, play at church that maybe they don't know about or even think about. It's like, for example, if like you're playing a show and then the band before you has their fucking pedals all daisy chained like a dickhead on stage and leaves them and then takes way too long to pack up their guitar. And we just like bitch off of that for a while or go off that or like, any type of like, a DIY touring that of like, hey, sleeping in a van or stuff like that. It's like, we have something to talk about and we can bring up, different things about being in a band. We can things that piss us off and we can get like heated and ranty and yelling and shit like that. And it was like when we originally started the podcast, I really wanted it to be like a clean rating, like no explicit tag or anything like that. But I think I blew it out right at the fucking gate, like 5 minutes in. I couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut. I just like curse all the time like a sailor. Like I get it from my dad. And he's just...
Because he's a sailor, right?
Oh, yeah. He's a... Okay. Or building designer, architect, the same thing, right?
Same thing.
So I was... that was really what inspired me. It's like a friend just like, just do it. You already are recording bands. How hard can a podcast be? I'm like, not hard at all. Like I'm recording 2 vocal tracks, maybe 3 or 4. I'm like, super easy to do. And I can do all the editing in Pro Tools because I already do it for a band. I'm like, how hard? Like if I can record a drum set and a full band and everything and like EQ everything and get it ready for a studio and an album, like I can record a podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so that was like, I knew the technical side of it, but like the whole idea of it, I had no fucking clue of like, what am I going to do? What is this thing going to be? And initially the easiest one was to do interviews. And I was like, this is going to work. Cool. And then immediately I'm like, yeah, this is way harder to get people involved in this when we've never even done this. So it's kind of like getting Kyle. I'm like, okay, do you want to come together and like, let's do a topic? It'll be like half an hour.
Yeah, I was like the interviewer or interviewee who never left.
Yeah, and so now he's the co-host, and he's loving it. It's kind of a cool thing of like, even Kyle when he first started, he wasn't listening to podcast, and it was like now he is, and it's like kind of like, I wasn't listening to podcasts for maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, until like a friend told me like, oh yeah, no, these are free. You can just download them. Like you have the app on your phone. You can just go
free.
Yeah. So
where do I sign up?
Yeah. So he's a comedian. So he was listening to like comedy podcasts and stuff like that. Of like,
sure. Yeah.
A lot of like comedian interviews and comedian shows and stand up or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And that was like one day that I was like, is there a guitar one? And I just
typed at least one,
Yeah. So I was like thinking there must be one. And I typed it in. I'm like, oh, like a whole list of them. I'm like, oh, I'll listen to this. I'll listen to that. And that was like the first ones were like, like Tone Mob, 60 Cycle, Guitar Nerds, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, everybody's doing something different. And I was like, you can do your own thing. And it started really triggering a thing for me of like, it's a total DIY radio kind of feel. It's like, because you turn on your radio and it usually fucking sucks, right? The Monday morning shows or morning radio shows suck dick.
Yeah, they're awful.
And so why don't you make something good? It's like, even for music, you turn on the radio and the radio sounds like garbage. Everything on there just sucks. And it's like, usually my favorite bands are the ones that you have to like dig a little bit. They're not being thrown on your face on TV or radio or anything like that. You find them. And these are my favorite podcasts, are the ones that I find. They're not the ones that you pop on your, iTunes or whatever, the top ones. They're the ones that are really in there. I'm like, this is like a punk kind of feel to it. So I'm like, I can do that. I want to do that. Like I'm doing, any band can put their music on Bandcamp and have their friends or anybody in the world buy it. And podcasts are the same way. If you have something to say, even if it's not important, it's important to you. Same thing with music. I'm like, have passion for it and just talk about it and just want to be about it. And that's what I thought like a podcast thing is. And it's like we're meeting all these different people. It's like that's how we met you. That's how we met, really Co and, Ryan, Steve, Guitar Nerds. They're from fucking like Brighton in UK. And it's like we met those guys because they're doing the same thing. They have something that they really want to talk about. It could be something as small and trite as like, I shat myself one time when I was at Soma. That's important.
All right.
It could be, I name my guitars after anime characters. It's important. It doesn't matter. It's like you have something to say that's important to you. So believe it. And
the least important thing, though.
Yeah, I know
it is important.
But it's important.
And that's like the grandiose idea of it. And also because it's fun.
Yeah, totally.
So that's
there's a huge community in it. Like as soon as you start, like even if you just listen, like you start interacting. Like the thing is, like podcasts too are like they're transcendent because it's not just a podcast. It's a podcast and a Facebook page and then like the Instagram and they like all work together.
Yeah,
and then, like, all of a sudden,
real
like,
community
everybody's
in
like,
it.
Yeah, and then somebody posts like a hilarious picture or like, comments on, something you did and all of a sudden like everybody's just going after it, just saying the most funniest stuff ever, And that's like where it's really, really fun is I think that's what it missed, when I talked about doing another podcast, like that's what it missed 10 years ago was the fact that Facebook wasn't like a thing where people did that group and like interacted that way.
Yeah.
So it's like now it's like all in, it's all inclusive. It's super fun.
Yeah, I think just interacting and meeting these different people and these different types of like, I think like not even just to bring it, it's like not just companies, but it's like meeting these different types of people. It's like honestly, like I'm on Facebook and I don't give a shit about my like friends I know in real life. I'll go on there just to be in the groups.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's totally what I found in the last 6 months. Like I don't care anymore.
Yeah,
I just lurk on like podcast pages and stuff and say stupid shit and post memes. And I don't even know what half the things I'm doing, but I'm getting some likes. So, I'm getting some popularity. People know my name. That's cool.
Getting my karma.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. Getting that sweet, sweet karma.
I know. That's what I think is kind of cool with like, we're ending up just like finding ourselves like, I really just stumbled on to podcasts and wanting to do one. And I think that a lot of people have their own story of like why they wanted to do one, or like I said, they have their own story to tell. I'm like, everybody is so important. And not to like bring it back to like name dropping, like I'll pick it up in a second, but it's like, like Clifton, like his show is so different than ours.
Oh yeah, totally.
But we're in the same community. The Gear Slum are doing a completely different thing than Guitar Nerds or Wampler or Tone Mob, but we're all in the same community because everybody's just like, you know what? I want to listen to your take on guitar and gear because that's what I'm into. Like, I may not like agree with what you're saying, but you know what? It's something interesting that I want to listen to. Because what else are you going to listen to? Like, the shit radio, like the same hit 5 songs over and over again that are...
Yeah, an anime podcast. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. There are some good ones in there. You know what? Fuck off.
No thanks, okay? No thanks.
Yeah. Hard pass on that one. But yeah,
That's
I mean...
a soft maybe.
And I'm like,
maybe.
yeah, and I can think like, I think the hardest thing for us in starting a podcast was picking a name, and that was like took us like weeks to figure out because like we could not fucking agree. Once I got him on board, he was like, I gotta have a say in what the name is. Like he didn't really care what the direction was or what we were going to talk about. He's like, I need to have a fucking say in the name. And I was like, God, we're like, must have had like a whiteboard that we usually write like our song and chord progressions on. We had like maybe 30, 40 names written on there. A lot of them were like fucking garbage.
That was literally the name.
Yeah. Shithole garbage. But
shithole dumpster fire garbage trash man.
But yeah,
the podcast.
And it was funny that the Tone Jerks was like the best one.
It's not even that good.
Well, there is the reason behind it. We'll drop it now. Like the whole reason what Tone Jerks was supposed to be, it was like, oh, you guys are like kind of assholes where you guys are talking. But do you ever go on Reddit, Paul?
Yeah.
Do you ever like go to Guitar Circle Jerk?
I don't think so.
Or do you know like not? There's a certain kind of circle jerk on Reddit where it's just people. Be careful. Tread lightly if you're gonna look. Yeah, if you're gonna go, it's Guitar Circle Jerk or Guitar Pedal Circle Jerk. The whole thing about that subreddit is just to like take the piss out of like the whole guitarist, like tone chaser enthusiast like thing of like, hey, you know, we need to find the best tone. This pedal's the best. It has, you know, transparent overdrive. This is like, you know, my Blues Junior. This is like the Telly tones. And they were like big on tones. Like, you know, your best tone is like from Altoids tin. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like, oh, which cables are the best? Like, it's none of it fucking matters. And that's the whole point of like what a jerk is. Like, you guys are just, we're all just like talking about nothing.
Right. Of course. Yeah. We talk about that a lot. Like people, how obsessed people are about this stuff. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Like none of it. Like if you, even like playing a show, like you could probably play like a Behringer, like V amp and just run direct. Like when you're at church and people are like, yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, nobody knows. Nobody cares.
Like we could play.
Like, I'm like, oh, I got this cool pedal, and not like I have one friend that cares about gear. No one else cares.
Yeah, like I could play like a show, and they're like, like somebody, like a friend of mine is like, oh, I just bought the same guitar that you did. It's like an Epiphone or like a random.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like,
oh yeah, we can't be friends anymore.
But no, like to them, they're like, yeah, it's the same thing. It has strings and it's a guitar, right? They're the same fucking thing. And we're like realizing like, this is kind of what it all is. It's fun to talk about it. It's like, you know, just talking about nonsense. And that's kind of like all it is. And that's what a circle jerk is. And that's where we're like, oh, the tone jerk was what we were going to call it. And be like, but there's two of us. And we kept arguing about that. That's when we said like, oh, the tone jerk. We're like, yeah, that's kind of where it is. We're about it. And Kyle's like, well, who's the jerk here? I'm like, fuck. Let's just call it the tone jerks. Because there's two of us. And we're just talking about guitars and random shit. So that's it. I like that question, Paul. It got me talking for like an hour. So thanks.
Yeah. You went on a soapbox. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I was just like intently listening.
You're like,
I put my microphone on mute. It was so good.
You're like, hell yeah, I got something to say. So your next podcast, you're like I'm hitting people in their hearts and like, I flipped this rat. It was painted gold to some dipshit over in San Diego.
Crushed it. I put that thing on reverb. I sold it in a second.
This moron sent me a like 20th or like 40th anniversary DS1,
fucking brand new. Like never been played. Came in a bag in a box.
He even sent me the receipt if I wanted to return it.
You know, Paul, if you want to, you could send it back and mod it differently too. You know, offer still stands on that. So
okay, all right. I'm excited.
If you hate it, let me know.
Yeah.
If I hate it, I'll be fine. I'll be like, Kyle made this.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I went back through and made sure all my connections were good, and you know, all my adjustments I did on it. I went and trashed some diodes on there and redid them, and they look really killer.
Cool.
So get ready for that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I definitely want to play it. So,
but I mean, all like, you know, blowing smoke up Kyle's ass aside, it's a really cool pedal, especially if you just like run it into a clean, you know, amp. Like, do you run your Blues Junior dirty or just straight?
No,
clean?
it's just like on the edge of breakup.
Okay, and then you run everything like in front of that and just like kind of like dirty it up more or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I was running that. I mean, I was running it on like an AC style amp. The thing sounds killer. I think we did like a, we did like a comparison where we like compared like Kyle's mod of his JCM 800 DS1 compared to like my JCM 900. It sounded really good. I mean, they're not that different, but you're like, oh, I guess I don't need a whole Marshall stack.
Right. Like, oh.
You're like, that's what bums you out about tone. You're like, damn.
There's way more gain on that pedal. It's a crazy
that's what
amount.
you're saying. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'd be cool. So I think we'll end it out. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us, and thank you for bearing with all of my technical difficulties here. Hopefully the episode
was awesome. I had a blast.
Hopefully the episode turns out well.
Yeah, your technical difficulties were sick.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. Can't wait to hear them. A bunch of glitching and like. So, thanks again, Paul. So we are the Tone Jerks. If you guys want to check us out, we're online. We're at thetonejerks.com, and if you guys have a second and want to stop by and feel so inclined, check us out on Patreon. Patreon.com/thetonejerks. You guys can help support the show for just $1 or more, whatever. And
also check out the Flippin Flippers.
Yeah, so check out the Flippin Flippers podcast. So whatever podcatcher you're listening to this on, go find them, subscribe to them, and check out their Patreon. They're doing some cool ass shit where they're donating half their pledges to charity. What was it, Paul?
It's Metro World Child.
Yeah, so they're like actually cool dudes and they're helping people out. So probably make sure to check them out. But thanks again, Paul. I'm actually a big fan of yours, so I was actually really glad that you're on the show. So
Thanks,
hopefully we'll do this again, and maybe it'll be a little bit smoother. But thank you everybody for tuning in. We will see you next time. We love you. Goodbye.